Bing, bing. Live, we're live. Here we are. Yes, it's Sam, it's Zhang, it's Piotr, it's Jenny, it's also Daniel. We are the Martin Fowler Scrum. We've also got Philip with us as well. It is a Tuesday. Here we are. Let's just start. I'm talking, so I'd love to jump in with updates from me. Main things happening yesterday were two big pairing sessions. Both with Michael, one on website one, where we sorted out being able to create events in the time zone of your choice. Lots of fun there. And then followed up with a big CSS footer bonanza on the static site. That's our middleman site. So that's all going reasonably well and under control. I've just got in the new introduction videos for the Agile Development Using Ruby on Rails course. So those have been transcribed and put into the system, and I've got to record a couple more this morning. That's the main thing I've got to. I'm not really blocked by anything, but the main thing that I'm doing is I've got to sort those videos out, and then more, I think, preparation for our client meeting on Wednesday relating to the static site and our going live with our new static site on June the 13th. Let's go on to Piotr. How are things with you?
So, I am basically started to work with the new feature the one of editing templates for super admins in local support.
Is it local support? Yes. Right. Okay.
So
great.
I just started to write some cucumber tests,
Mm-hmm.
and I guess there are no RSpec tests needed for now. So I'll be just going through with that. Zmago went to holiday, so now I'm left alone with that. But he'll be back next week, so if maybe he will join me in that. Yeah, and the second thing is that I'm just also following the MOOC and seeing if there are any problems on the discussion forum. So I'm also trying to cover anything that people are trying to ask there.
Excellent, much appreciated. Good show. So and nothing blocking you at the moment then?
No, tomorrow I'm starting my new job. So
in Berlin. Yes, congratulations.
Thanks.
Yes. So are you in Berlin already, or you're?
Yeah, I am. I'm on the low bandwidth because of that.
Right. Of course. Yes.
Yeah, Berlin sucks in that way. Yeah.
But hopefully, I guess once you start the job, you'll be able to afford that. More expensive.
I need to find a stable internet.
Yes, indeed. Good. So we're all really psyched about your new job, and we're looking forward to hearing about it over the coming days. And we won't see you again before tomorrow, Piotr. Best of luck on your first day.
Thanks.
Great stuff. So then we've got lots of people from Craft Academy. So Zhang and Jenny and Daniel and Philip. Now, do you want to appoint a spokesperson, or shall I go around each of you to talk about what's going on? You're working on one project together, right?
Yeah.
And now, who said that? Was that Philip?
Yeah, that was me.
Yeah. So, well, I think you've appointed yourself.
All right.
Okay. Let's start with Philip. Yeah, Philip. How are things going with you?
We're doing.
I don't know why he says Philip on his Google account. But.
Okay. Well. Yes. Sorry.
Doesn't matter.
What name should I be using?
Philip's good.
All right.
Okay. Yeah, I couldn't hear the name because somebody was like screwing up a piece of paper in the background.
Philip's good.
Okay. Well, anyway, either way, whatever your name is.
Yeah.
How's it going? What's going on with you?
Right now we have split into two pair programming sessions, pretty much. So Jenny and Jan is working together on implementing some Google geo trafficking or whatever it's called.
Right.
Hopefully not picking, but it's coding, I mean, probably.
Yeah. And so and I'm working on, or me and Daniel are working on user authentication using device at the moment. So we just got started with that and gonna write some tests with Cucumber, and so far everything's going well.
Great. Yes. Did you want to just I think for that, obviously within Craft Academy, you maybe know exactly what the project is that you're working on. Do you want to just talk a little bit more about what's the big picture project that you guys are working on this week?
So the big picture, we're working on a dog sitter application, pretty much. So a website, kind of reminding of Airbnb, but for dog sitters.
All right. Yeah.
So,
now I like that.
So people can find a dog sitter or pretty much in their location, and yeah.
Cool. So, anything blocking you?
No, everything's going well so far.
Great. Oh well, let's just go around. Given that context, let's go to Jenny maybe. Jenny, yeah, how is the geo-trafficking going?
We only just started, so this far it's going well. I would say, yeah, it is probably going well. We have some other problem, but that's like a very small problem, and I don't think it has anything to do with Google. But we found a very nice gem that we're using, and then some very nice walkthrough, so it seems pretty straightforward, but we'll see once we're done.
Great. So yeah, you're not feeling blocked. You know what you're doing. You're okay.
No, and I work together with Jan, so we complement each other really well. So that's good. It helps for the unblockment. Yeah.
Great stuff. Okay, good show. Well, let's just go to Daniel. Yeah, how are things going from your perspective?
It's going quite well. I'm just as lucky as Jenny is, and yeah, Kalle is rock solid. So he's very good at unblocking us, which is very good.
Excellent.
And yeah, I have a question for you. I mean, you've been working with pair programming for quite some time. How do you have any recommendations of things we should be thinking of or take into consideration now that we're working on our first bigger project?
Well, absolutely. I mean, I think that the key things for pair programming is that it's it's this separation between the code focus, right? And everybody wants to make the code work and to get that, moving forward. And the code can be very frustrating. It's almost like any time when you're pairing, there's actually a third person involved, which is the computer. And the computer is very unemotional, and it never really gives you anything. It never helps you laugh. It never, it's just always there, and it's either working or it's not working. And you can get very angry at the computer when it's not working. And I think the trick is to be, making sure that you're not accidentally directing too much of that anger at your pair partner. There's partly the pairing there is for you to help monitor your emotional state as you're working with the computer. So it's all about having being able to chat with your pair partner in advance, which I'm sure you're doing, and kind of talk about how are we feeling today? Am I really frustrated with this? How many breaks are we going to take? Are we going to what's the frequency with which we're going to rotate? And I think particularly, so you're doing morning and afternoon, you want to sort of work out a plan for the morning. Say, well, okay, let's do this, and let's do half an hour rotations and see how that works. And then again, before you start in the afternoon, you can look back at the morning and say, so how did that go? And it's difficult because everybody wants to be polite, but there's kind of, trying to create a space away from when you're actively working on the code and maybe getting kind of tense to sort of discuss. Okay, yeah, this afternoon, yeah, that didn't work out so well. Maybe let's try, 1 hour rotations, or let's try doing an hour and a half chunk, and then let's have a 30-minute break where we just go and, with the whiteboard, or we go for a walk in the park, or whatever. I think the critical thing is about helping mix it up and helping create a space for the dialogue between you, so that it doesn't the tension that arises from interacting with this very kind of cold and unemotional computer doesn't get you down as an individual or as a pair. Does that make sense? I think you're muted now.
I think so.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, it's kind of. I mean, I can indeed. I can say all sorts of things like that. I'm probably saying it too fast as usual. It just sort of comes from practice and repeatedly reflecting on how did it go and thinking about how do we make changes to sort of improve it in future. And also good pair, which I think, so you guys are in pairs now, which is great. I think the critical thing will be, as you go through the week, is make sure that you don't stay, although you may feel like, oh, I'm comfortable in this pair, often people are sort of, okay, let's sort of stay in this pair, and it can kind of, the productivity and the working well that can go great for a couple of days with the same pair can start to trail off. So it's important, to, as well for like distributing the information through the team, that later in the week that you want to switch those pairs around. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right, let's just go in and check in with, I think we haven't checked in with Zhang. How are things with you, Zhang? All going well?
Hi, it's going well. I work together with Jenny, and we designed the database and planned the project. And now we're working on the Google Map thing. It's going well, but just we are lack of Ruby on Rails knowledge. But we will fix that by Googling. I don't think that's a problem.
Okay.
Yeah, for me, I think the biggest challenge is project management, because yeah, in this project four of us will work together. So who should do what, and at which time should do what, and how to work in different branches. Those are the biggest challenges. I think.
Indeed, interesting.
So can I just come in? So I think one of the biggest challenges for you guys is, of course, to be self-organized. You know, this is the first time you are on your own working with something, and you know, not appointing a project manager could be a good way to go. You know, function as a democracy or something. Perhaps you should appoint. The challenge is to see this as a learning experience and then draw your own conclusions of what works best and how you should get organized. But one thing, perhaps, Sam, I think they could benefit from is the Git flow that we use in Agile Ventures, you know, in many projects, with the like a development branch being mapped to a development server, the staging. I don't know if they have implemented that. I haven't checked that yet, but perhaps you could, if you could, I don't know if perhaps they could benefit from that.
Yes. Well, I think what we might do is, you know, there's a number there. I was taking some more notes there on sort of the high-level project management. Maybe at the end of the Scrum we can get into that. Shall we just finish the Scrum first with, and since we're on Thomas? Yeah, Thomas. Any updates from you? Any blocks on your side?
You know, I'm just on AV side, not much. I have this idea in the back of my head, and I'm working toward that to pull in some paid work to Agile Ventures that has to do with edX.
You mentioned before, yeah.
Yes, on Friday we're going to have a meeting with one potential client. I started a channel in Craft Academy Slack for that.
Right.
I don't know if it's too early. I felt it was a little bit too early to start something in Agile Ventures, but I'm
sure.
You know, I want to have more information and more hands-on stuff before we start spreading the word about this. But I think it could be a very interesting thing to do as a joint venture between Craft Academy and Agile Ventures. And I think it's going to be interesting. So that's been occupying my mental capacity, which is limited. So I haven't thought about.
Oh, I've frozen.
Some people are actually listening to me. No, good, great. So, anyways, that's my report. Nothing. And me and Raul just finished a very interesting, of course, because we were involved, discussion about and stuff. I've been monitoring the Rails discussion on Agile Ventures without taking part. But you know, there's a lot of stuff going on, and so yeah. So we've been talking, you know, the Hanami framework look. I'm considering, and I know you're gonna hate me for it, but I'm considering switching the Sinatra part of our curriculum to Hanami. But I don't know if well, okay, thumbs up.
Hey, you know, I think try new things. You know, it's not. I don't have to maintain the curriculum, so it's not a problem for me.
All right, so there we go. Okay, yes, sir. So, but we're talking about different. So, basically, what I would like to do at some point, perhaps not switch Sinatra, because Sinatra has a very. There are many use cases, especially in the context of education and learning as an experience. But I'm considering pulling Hanami into the curriculum somehow at some point, just to showcase that.
I think it's. I mean, what I love about what you've done with the Craft Academy curriculum that I've not yet seen in other boot camps is the use of middleman in the Craft Academy curriculum, and I think that the mixing up of those different things. I mean, it puts the lie to this issue about Rails. You know, the argument that the blog post that started the discussion was a guy saying that the Rails was killing the Ruby community, and actually it seems to me that the Ruby community is very diverse. But yes, well, fantastic thoughts. Let's come back to that. Let's just
a final note on that. So, to be is not about Rails. We don't want to be a Rails bootcamp. We want to be a software development bootcamp.
Exactly.
bootcamp, basically. So Rails is a wonderful framework with a lot of use cases and useful to get our students. We don't want our students framework because then they will be too narrow. I think that's very important that we expose them to many different techniques.
And Thomas, I've turned your video up because your audio is breaking up a little bit. But yes, I think you were saying that.
I
want your boot camp. Yeah, the boot camp is absolutely. It's not about Rails. It's about software development. It's about agile development and those things, of which Rails has got one important aspect. Great, thank you, Thomas. So let's just go on to Raul. Anything from your side, Raul?
No, I'm just here to say hello. I have nothing to report. I haven't been doing much on AV this week.
No
just
worries.
too busy on campus. With,
no worries at all, Raul. Thanks, and that's great. We're coming in just about on the 15 minutes for our scrum. I'll just say to Raul, we've got Michael and I've got a new pull request for you to look through when you have a spare moment. Okay, so let's wrap up the scrum there. So I just checked. So Piotr, you're okay to carry on with local support. There's nothing that we need to look at together. I've merged in your latest pull request. Everything all right for you going forward, Piotr?
Yeah, I'm now fighting with Cucumber.
Okay, yes, hand-to-hand combat. It gets sticky. You can get some cloth. Indeed, Cucumber, fun, Cucumber. Well, let's now maybe just spend a moment talking about project management, the issue that was brought up by Zhang, and I think is probably of interest to all of us. This is now sort of Scrum is over. Thomas was mentioning things about develop branch, develop server. The thing that I was thinking about when Zhang, you were mentioning the project management aspect, and it is challenging. I would say that the two things that were immediately on my mind was one, how you're tracking the different tasks to do, and two, how you're organizing the team so that they meet up regularly within the course of the week. So with all these things, like you're kind of new to running technical projects. A lot of people who come into boot camps and they're like, oh, well, I've run projects before. We know about teamwork. But there's something about, I would say, running a technical project that is challenging in a different way beyond what's the usual challenges of getting on with people and coordinating and collaborating in a normal project. And it's a lot because the tasks in the project can be very unforgiving. But that said, so maybe you have it completely all set up already, but so are you using some kind of tracking system like Pivotal Tracker or Waffle or Jira or something to track your tasks?
We're using Waffle at the moment.
Okay, yeah, and well, if someone can throw me a link to the Waffle board, that would be something to have a look at. So you're using a kind of a Scrum, a Kanban process, and you're at least you've managed to break down the different tasks that you have into components, and I guess you're talking about the geo-trafficking and the user authentication. They're both you're set up and you've got that running, so to speak. Is that right?
Yeah, we were trying to make that, but yesterday Waffle had some problems, so we couldn't work further with that.
Well, the thing, of course, to remember with Waffle is that Waffle is merely a front end to GitHub, as you know. So if Waffle's doing something strange and it's not as reliable, I would say, as Pivotal Tracker, you can always go in and just manipulate the issues directly. You can always just be seeing them here. So and then be editing them in that way. This is just this is like a pure front end that's using the GitHub issues as its sort of database, as it were, for all of these things. But okay, and so the process that you've been through to break this down, presumably you started with kind of a high-level sketch of what you want the system to be like, and then you I guess you don't have an external client, right? This is an idea that you came up with yourselves, and you're just developing independently of any external client?
Yes, just internal.
Yeah, and so I guess you've come up with then sort of little chunks of work based on the idea. Yeah, right. You've got little stories there. Yeah, and so on, and then you're just sort of thinking about what order to do them in and their relative importance. Yeah. So the thing that then I would say ends up being the most important really is the coordinating scrums. And so do you have sort of planned Scrum times for your team to coordinate like through the rest of the week? What have you set up so far in terms of Scrum planning?
Yeah, we have 2 scrums every day.
Okay, morning and afternoon. Yeah, so I'd say that's the critical things. And so you've agreed to now. I'm not sure. Are you guys all co-located? So are you able to meet in person for those scrum, or are you using Google Hangouts?
hangout. We are in different places.
Yeah. Okay. Forgive me. I don't know exactly your setup. Of course, personally, I love Hangouts because it's the way to go. So, I mean, the key thing. I mean, there's, you know, the dealing with Git conflicts, dealing with, you know, as Thomas suggesting there, like a develop branch and develop server. The key thing I would say, there's no magic bullet, right? There's no one technique that you're going to discover that will suddenly make it all work. I'd say the critical thing really is to be discussing those things and also not discussing them for too long. So, you know, as you know with Scrums, you sort of go around and check in with everybody. You try and keep it short, and then, you know, if there's an issue of, like, you know, someone has suggested, well, we keep on ending up with broken code on master, so maybe we need this develop branch thing that Thomas is talking about. You know, you want to basically be able to try things out or not try things out, not let it get into too prolonged a debate. It doesn't really matter, I would say, whether you use a develop branch or not. In some ways, the most important thing is that you've got a group and that you're, at that point in time, you're comfortable to, you know, make the change or do the slightly different thing that's been put on the table. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
But so are there then? I mean, you've come in and then you've set up with you know, a great pairing division. You've got, I think, all the basic things in place. I guess and you said, like, you know, it's going well. Can we drill down to, you know, are there any things that have not worked so well over the last you know, 24 hours or so?
By now, it was just waffle, so I think we're fine with our pairing.
Yes. And but the things that you were mentioning before, Dan, were the things that maybe you're concerned about, maybe they haven't become problems yet. As you were saying, project management is just who should do what at which time. That was your concern that you mentioned. But actually, I guess you're saying it's going okay so far. You're just worried maybe that through the rest of the week, will people be doing the right things at the right time? Is that your concern?
Yeah, like how shall we coordinate so we don't become delayed for this project? That's a big challenge that I think we will meet. But Jenny has a long working experience with project leading, so I think she might be able to help us. So yeah.
Yes.
I think the challenge we had initially was that we're a very democratic team, and we don't, you know, there's no customers, so there's right or wrong. So we basically had to agree on what to do, and we had to do it fairly quickly. And we're not co-located. And there's the technical aspect, and there's the commercial aspect, and there's many aspects to take into consideration, and it's very, very easy to get a bigger scope, because naturally you want to do a lot of things. But I think balancing what we can do in a week and what we want to do, while being, you know, polite and respectful of everyone's wishes and limitations, and, you know, it's not super easy. I think Thomas is right that it would probably have been a lot easier if we had a project manager appointed, but it would be more boring.
Interesting. Fascinating points there. The Calap and Daniel, your thoughts on any of those things, or anything else that are concerns on your minds?
No, not really. I mean, I know that we initially spoke a little bit about maybe one or two of us trying to at least think out of the mindset of somebody ordering this service, and another person has, at least for the moment, being project manager. Like, if you take a helicopter perspective of it and look at it and see, okay, what do we need to do? I mean, both time-wise and also functionality-wise. I don't. It was just a discussion that we had. I don't know if and how we're going to be using it, but yeah, it could be of use if we notice that we're not being as effective or productive as we should.
Interesting. Yes, Daniel?
No, that was it.
Sorry, was that Daniel speaking? So sorry, I got confused there. So no, Caleb. Yes.
Yeah, no, I don't think I have anything to add, to be honest. They pretty much covered it.
Yes. Well, you know, it seems to me that you're thinking about all the right sorts of things, I guess the key thing, looking at sort of reading back what you were saying to me there, is I think that the idea of having the product representative, or what's also called the sort of product owner in Scrum, which I guess that the concept of the product owner in Scrum is something that's been mentioned to you, or perhaps not so much. I think that that's potentially very helpful. It's certainly something to try, at least as Jenny was saying there about how, you know, maybe there's a danger in if you're having a democratic sort of discussion about things and everybody's sort of being polite, the discussion can just sort of go on. And, you know, one thing that you might consider trying is, I don't know, project manager is a strong word. I would say for, you know, Scrums to kind of, to work well, you know, particularly if you're working under a deadline, it's good in an individual Scrum to have, you know, at any one point, somebody taking the product owner perspective and somebody being the Scrum master, which doesn't necessarily mean that they're the project manager, but it means that you've got one person who is like, okay, for this Scrum, it's my responsibility to like make sure everything happens to time and that we finish this, and that there's one person who says, well, I'm going to take the responsibility of the product owner. And that can be very helpful in sort of moving things forward. And it doesn't have to be the same person each time. Like you could just, for today, let's say, make Jenny the product owner and make Kalat the Scrum master, and just say, let's occupy those roles in order to like move things forward slightly more quickly than we would otherwise. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. Good idea.
If I just may come in here, so
please
don't. Kind of confusing. So basically, in this case, we don't have a client, so the group is supposed to treat this like a startup thing, basically. So you know, I mean, this is a learning experience and a simulation, so we have to assume that the idea is validated, and you know, we just go ahead and kind of implement that. You know, so we don't. You know what I mean? So in terms of having a product owner, you kind of every time you deploy, you have those meetings, and you kind of validate that we've done the right thing at the right time, basically. So I clearly think that a flaw in the setup, but if you adopt the mindset that let's pretend that this is a startup, where we're gonna market with the dog sitter application, and roll it out as the next Airbnb, basically, So you have a dream. So I think it's very important that there is a vision, and that the team kind of shares the vision, the dream of building the next big thing, basically. You know what I mean? And working toward that together. You know what I mean? But with all the implications that it kind of brings to the table.
Yeah, I think that sounds absolutely right, and I think what I would add to that is I think that having the product owner is not necessarily in conflict with that. It's more just that there's in a given meeting. So although absolutely, say you've got 4 people in the Scrum, and everybody's going to be like yes for the vision, but one person, if everybody's completely focused on the vision and then discussing the vision, often the discussion can end up going on and on and on. Whereas if you've said in advance, okay, for this meeting, this one person's going to be the Scrum Master, then they can say, okay, I'm going to rather than necessarily focusing on the vision right now, I'm going to focus on bringing the meeting to an end or making sure that everybody gets to speak or we get input from everybody. And you could call it that one person is going to be, you could, I mean, that's the thing. You could say the other 3 people are going to be representative of the vision or just one of them. But again, with all of these things, I think what it comes down to is now, the 4 of you have heard some ideas from myself, some ideas from Thomas, and so on. And the thing is, what you should probably go away and do now, we've had this sort of bigger, broader Scrum, is have your own Scrum and see if you can say, well, let's try this out, and then try that thing, and then see how that works for that next day. And then you say, well, when you were product owner, you were a bitch. Good God. We're not going to have product owners for the rest of the week, kind of thing. So it's that, ultimately, we come back to what I think what both Thomas and I were both saying is there's no magic solution. It's all about, saying, okay, let's try this one change and see how that works. Does that make sense?
To Jenny and to the others, this is a team effort, and I I'm also brought up in Sweden. I also understand the need to being nice to everybody, but as a team effort, you want to bring everybody on board to work toward this quote unquote deadline or what have you. But sometimes you cannot be nice to people. A bit of stress and a bit of pressure is always good. You know what I mean? Not too much, but in a balanced way. I think it's important. But I will give you an assignment. Now that we've spoken, I mean, Sam and I are throwing this terminology around about the Scrum Master and Product Owner. I would like you to do a little bit of research in the context of Scrum, to research what is the role of the Scrum Master and what is the role of Product Owner. We only touched upon Scrum on a very high level, so we haven't introduced those roles. On the internet, so if you just spend like 10-15 minutes doing a small research and get acquainted with what are we actually talking about and what are the responsibilities of a Scrum Master versus a Product Owner, etc., that will be a great help for you if you choose, as Sam suggests, to implement that for at least a few of the upcoming Scrums or days. All right?
Okay.
Yes,
okay.
we'll try.
Great stuff.
Wonderful.
Well, there's a lot more that I could say. There's a lot more that many of us could say. But I think probably it's a good time to wrap that up. You guys are, all want to get busy on your projects. So shall we wrap that up there? What I will certainly say to all of you at Craft Academy is, do feel free to reach out to me individually if you want more advice or support on that. You're all Agile Ventures premium members, and I'm here to support you as well as the Craft Academy staff, particularly as regards project activities. So don't hesitate to reach out if there's anything I can do to help you. And I wish you fantastic luck with the rest of the project this week. And do feel free to join any other future Scrums as well if you want to.
Thank you, Sam.
All right, great stuff. I'll wrap up the